So today I'm going to be going over my marble machine. I'm going to be going over it and explaining it in as much detail as possible without losing you. I started this Thanksgiving Day 2018. It's been very off and on. At one point I quit for a year and a half, but I have since resumed this. So I'm going to be going over it in its modules as seven, I believe it's seven modules or mechanisms. That is, the frame is one of them. Let's see, seven. Okay, frame, programming wheel, lifting mechanism, triggering mechanism, distributing mechanism. Let's see if I can get all seven. Instruments and gear train. Yes, that is all seven. Those are all the. That's how you break down the machine. I believe I have everything here built. Well, it is almost done. But anyway, I'm going to be going over it in chronological order from oldest to newest. So the first thing that I made was the frame. This went under very many iterations and proportions. The frame is, I think, it is 6 feet tall, and it's something like 3 feet wide. Okay, something like that. I believe it's it's 2.5 feet. Anyway, there's not much to say about it other than that it's made out of 2x4s. Moving on to, I believe the second thing that I made was the gear train. So these gears I made with this scroll saw here. I hand cut out each individual tooth. And how I made these gears was there's this Matthias Rondell's gear generator. It costs $26. Basically, you can put in number of teeth, tooth spacing, and if you want spokes also, and then you can print out these sheets of paper and you glue them together, and then you glue that to the piece of plywood, and then you just cut it out from there. But basically this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 gears on it right now. The gear ratio from the crank to the programming wheel is 64:1. So every 64 cranks, there's 1 revolution of the programming wheel. And that is important so that you can play in time with the music. So it is a 10-tooth gear over here that goes to a 100-tooth gear that goes across under here to a 10-tooth gear, and then this one is a 128-tooth gear. The one that goes to the lifting mechanism, there is a 40-tooth gear here that goes to a 10-tooth and then 20-tooth. The next thing that I made was the programming wheel. Now this was there's a few things on this machine that if I couldn't do, it was a complete failure. I couldn't even progress further, and this was one of them. Because there's just over it's about exactly 3,000 bowls on the programming wheel. And they all have to be perfectly aligned. And it is impossible to do that manually and still retain your sanity. So this was a revelation to use a pegboard. I remember staring at this wall here and getting the idea to do that. And this dictated a lot of the machine. So this is Forget the circumference. Anyway, no, it's like 128, actually, yeah. So each hole is an inch apart. So there's 24 across, and it goes 128. So there is 16 measures of 4/4 timing, and it can play on the beat. I believe that is correct. So every half crank of the turn, there is one like segment playing. I believe I'm hopefully not butchering this. All that is also the reason that it is so big compared to the original marble machine, or the one that he made, the Wintergatan marble machine. Okay, moving on. The next thing that I made was the hardest thing, but by far the most complicated piece of this project. This is the triggering mechanism. Its job is to take these pegs and then turn them into a marble dropped. So each peg corresponds with one marble dropped. So when one peg goes up here, it moves a piece back there and it drops one marble in that same lane. And that is how you program it. And that is very complicated to do, since there's also, you have to do that 24 times. So there's about a million different designs that you can do. I opted with a kind of a blend. I kind of blended one of Martin's designs with mine. So I should probably, let's see. This was a piece, one of the pieces. So this was an old one. So the pin would push this back, and then it would pull this. Anyway, I'm getting off track here. I'm gonna move the camera to up here so I can actually show you how this works, because it's fairly simple once you know how it works, but it's hard to explain. Okay, so up here on the top of the machine, these are all the channels. So basically, here, let me move it down here. That's not the best, you can't even see it here. So basically, here, these are all the register panels, I call them. They're actually muted right now. Here. So when a pin comes up here, it pushes this back, and that pulls on a string, which pulls one marble gate back, and that is what drops the marble. So these marble gates, if you can see down this hole, it is basically bringing the marble. So there's a sandwich thing right here. It's pulling it back. Let's see, I can explain that better. Basically, the other big thing was that was the muting system is a way to completely just mute all of the instruments, and that is with the strings, and it puts this tensioner thing here. That was probably the biggest thing I'm proud of, that I could do that, and still have it not stupid complicated. But yeah, that's the triggering mechanism. It looks simple, but it took literally forever to get to this point. Anyway, moving on to the distributing mechanism. This is a way this mechanism's job is to evenly distribute the marbles, the stream of marbles coming in from the lifting mechanism. It has to evenly distribute them across all 24 channels. It does that. It's this way. You usually see that there. Right there. So they roll past and then they fall into empty channels. So it puts them only in the ones that they need it. And this design I actually stole from Martin as well. It is just it was too good. It is completely static. And also it doesn't matter what height the marbles are at. So if one is full, then the marbles just roll past them. I could probably put up a video of that, of it working. Anyway, moving on. It's probably worth mentioning how I did this. These are just bent PVC. You just take a hot gun to a PVC thing and you bend it. These PVC pipes are 1 1/8 inch wide, and I only have one. I have to fit them in 1 inch. So I actually planed them. You can actually do that. I ran each PVC pipe through a planer, and that's why they are like skinny. So that's how they get them to fit. And then I put them in here, and then I just tighten down this screw. And do every other one here, because the 2x4 flexes, so it like doesn't do that. Anyway, moving on to the lifting mechanism right here. This is the next thing that I made. It is honestly the most interesting thing to look at because of how much it moves. I'm also going to film this next section in vertical just because it's way easier to see this like whole thing. This thing is 4 feet tall and it moves like 6 inches up and down, something like that. Well, let me actually show you it in action because that'll probably explain it better. It is a fish stair ladder, and the marbles come in from the trough here, and then they go deposit up here. And then there's a 4-to-1 ratio, so every 4 crank turns, it goes up and down once. It used to be 2-to-1, but that was way too fast. This thing weighs 15 pounds, and I have to use these surgical tubing things to offset that. This is I love this part because it is so. Let me actually put some marbles in it. I'm using glass, it'll be metal in the version. Here we go. They're gonna fall out. Yep, another right there. Let's see if that. Yep, that is how it works. I'll probably explain it better. And one last thing about this. This tubing, I have to take this off the tension so it's not like stretched all the time or else it'll lose its stretch. So I put this little one piece right here that it rests on when it's not in use. Yeah, one last thing. This used to weigh like 25 pounds, but then I hollowed out these 2x4s. So then it weighed 15 pounds, and I still need to use these things to offset the weight. I also did put a flywheel. This is still, I need to put like another thing on this other side. But other than that, that is about it for the marble machine. Is that I catted the lifting mechanism or fish stair ladder. This is it in CAD. I just scaled it up and then took the measurements 1-to-1 and then just copied that over to like the 2x4. So this is actually one of the first designs of it, prototypes. Also, this is the triggering mechanism channels. This is the final version right here. And then you can see all my other, these are like all the other iterations of it over here, just scattered across here. I deleted most of them because they were just taking up space. And then here's the drums right here. But yeah. That is about it for the marble machine. I've pretty much explained everything. Oh yeah, except the instruments. I have 18 of xylophone notes and 3 drums, a kick, a snare, and a hi-hat. The sounds are created using contact microphones and some rice for the snare. And then of course I have just a big trough at the front catching the marbles instead of individual ones, because I'm going complete practicality. I want this to work. But yeah, I think that's about it for this marble machine. I'm just gonna crank it for a while, and you could just watch it moving, because that's probably what you want to see. Okay. It did something. So yeah, that is about it for this video. ETA on the finish, when I'm going to finish this, is about around summertime this year. One thing I didn't say is that I've been 3D printing these parts. Saw that, but that is a huge help with having a 3D printer, being able to print all these. So I basically designed all of it, I just need to finish it up now, which is kind of crazy to think about since of how long this project has been going on for. But yeah, that's it for this video. Blah 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 blah.